Shalom Yashrala, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson real quick, which was inspired by quite a few things. It's just been in the spirit that this has been, more or less a lesson in building. All right, I wanted to go into this here topic based off of something that I had wound up overhearing, and since we go into the topics of Ukraine and Russia, and the origins of that, with the Maidan coup. All right, you had multiple what they call coup is short for coup d'état. Just to go into these things, and how the scriptures speak about these things, and this is an MO of Esau. All right, and this is one of the ways, as the scripture saith, that he would be the scriptures say, more or less to say that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right, and he was given a great sword, and by that sword he would live. All right, now when you put all these things together, and uplifting all these kings from their thrones, when you put all these things together, you paint a picture of how Esau would get into power. All right, he would use his military. All right, not just by brute force. All right, yeah, the Edomites have done that in the past, but in this modern day time, or at the end of this era, how do I say, at the end of this era rulership of Esau. All right, what he's been doing is overthrowing governments. All right, as far as regime change, setting up puppets and things like that. Now, the spirit had it to where these things started coming out into a couple different articles. But I'm gonna play a video first, real quick, which is a very old video. All right, which goes into a certain topic. It came up around the time of actually, it came out, I believe, in 2007. But it was after the fact of something that happened in 2001. All right, now, even if you go back into all those things, we're not going to go too far into that topic about what happened in 2001. But if you know, you know, all right? But nevertheless, when, after these wars have been over with, they even tell you, what did this guy have to do with WMDs or weapons of mass destruction? They tell you nothing. What do they have to do with this subject and that subject? They would tell you nothing. But we were sold a certain story beforehand, all right? And then come to find out later on, it was a different agenda all the way along. All right. And the same things is going on right now. All right. And people would think that's why I want to go into this subject. All right. Because this is the fact of how Esau gets down. In the how do I put it? In the mainstream media, in the news, they would have you think about Ukraine and Russia or Taiwan and China. That, in Russia's scenario, oh, Russia is the big bad boogeyman. It's just, a dictator and everything else like that, man. All right, and they just going around just taking up whatever they want, however they want. They just bogarting people in they place, or they just bogarted Georgia, bogarted Ukraine. All right, and all these different scenarios like this. You same with China. All right, they over here bogarting Taiwan. But when you go into the history of these places, man, you would understand that, like, hey, man, these are these countries. How do I put it? In retaliation to what has happened unto them. All right, these are things that happened unto them to begin with. So now all you've seen is basically the retaliation of them trying to defend themselves. All right, now I'm gonna play this video first, real quick, and then we're gonna read a couple articles real quick. All right, now this here video can be you can find it. It was by a U.S. general. All right, his name was Wesley Clark. All right, and this was in 2007. So I'm gonna play this here video real quick.
After 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld.
Now listen, this is only a really short video, but he's giving you the timeline and the time frame, all right, of when the things he's about to explain happen. All right, and then as we fast forward in time in history, we see how these things played out, which they are still being played out to this same very day. So when you sit there and you think about, the stories they're giving you, oh, this president did this, that president did that. Give me a second. We froze. Nope, we didn't freeze. We good? Yeah, we still good. All right. They'll tell you that this president is doing this and this president did that. This is why we tell you, man, it doesn't matter who the president is. All right, because they're all working against or all working towards the same agenda. All right, this is Esau as a whole. All right, no matter who the president is, you can go back. We're gonna go back to Bush time in office, which actually goes back even further than that. But back to Bush time in office, through Obama, through Trump, and now Biden. All right, but let's listen here. All right, but I wanted to get this here time frames just so you know when this was so-called on the papers, right?
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No, no." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on.
Now, again, this was 10 days after that event in September. All right. They already had the paperwork and everything ready to go. Right.
About the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No, no." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else."
And then now, granted, this is after the fact that this actually happened, but you hear the laughter of the people. All right. Hey, people are ignorant to the fact of what the hell is going on. But hey, when the missiles start coming down, and these Americans always say they hate us because of our freedoms. All right. But hey, listen.
To do. So
And on the side note, these ain't no damn conspiracies. This is a damn general who was in office at that point in time. All right, talking amongst other military officials, and then not even that. You've seen it actually play out. All right, this has already been played out, and it's still being played out to this same very day. All right.
well, I don't know. He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al Qaeda?" He said, "No, no." He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go."
Now remember, this is around that that time when that event happened. Now we were sold the fact of beforehand that Homeboy had something to do with that event that happened in September. But years later, if you remember, they asked, I believe it was either Bush or Colin Powell about what did he have to do involved with these things, and they was like nothing. You know what I'm saying? We thought that he had those WMDs. Well, I believe they asked Bush that. All right, and Bush said, well, he had the WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, so we going over there because of that. Then I believe years later they asked Colin Powell about that after the fact that they got out of office. It's like, well, whatever happened to the weapons of mass destruction that he had? Like, he never had none. We never found none, right? So what was the whole point of them going over there to begin with? All right. So it's not like, again, just they're telling you what the hell's going on in one video, all right? And then you just seen how it all played out. And then after all the smoke cleared, you see what really happened, all right? So you think that your people, when you talk about some support your troops and all these different things and everything else like that, man, hey, man, this is what you're really supporting, man. All right, the regime change, man. They over here, neither keep it at home. He's a proud man, gathered unto him all people for what? The resources, man. All right.
War with Iraq. He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if
you heard what he said?
Iraq," he said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still?"
So now listen to these countries that he's about to name off. And like I said, think about how it all played out, all right?
Going to war with, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Now, granted, think about that. Let's play those countries again and see did it or did it not happen. All right?
In 5 years. Defense office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years."
Now that's the lie right there. All right, they said did it in 5 years, but we've seen it play out over 20 years. All right, because hey, they just recently pulled out of Afghanistan, and that was what 20 years later. But see, now we're gonna get into some further things after this video. All right,
starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Syria, Libya. All right, hold on.
In 5 years, starting with Iraq and then
so Iraq, Afghanistan, all right,
Syria, Lebanon.
Syria, all right, you seen with Bashar al-Assad, that was like recently with Barack Obama and them, all right. Libya with Muammar Gaddafi overthrowing them over there, all right.
Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Somalia and Sudan, they still constantly over there at that point in time, or at this point in time right now, man. All right. But all right, that's it on their video. And they said finishing off with Iran, which is gonna bring us to this here article. It says Iran names countries. Now, you have to go back into the history of Iran. Now, Iran, all right, even around the time where they got the name Iran, all right, because they was overthrown in a coup a long time ago, all right, and this is when you started seeing these women walk around, basically looking like Americanized women. But then Iran wound up taking back over their spot again, all right. So now it says Iran names, and now currently Iran is under their control, so-called air control. But see, America's still trying to get up in there. That's one of the last strongholds they're trying to grab. It says Iran names countries behind riots. Anti-government unrest was a design of Washington and Tel Aviv. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said. It says now again going into what you have to understand of regime change. They have a coup d'état. That's what a coup d'état is. All right, it's a overthrowing of a government by way of mainly what they'll do is they'll go through with protests. They'll have like the civilians protest the government, make it seem like the civilians are protesting the government. They have what they call the Arab Springs and the color revolutions, where there was there was a point in time like recently, all right, where they just had all these Middle Eastern governments, well, the people in the Middle Eastern nations just all of a sudden want to overthrow their governments. Oh, these people are bad people. They're dictators. They're robbing the people. They're corrupt politicians. And then this is what you see whenever you see these damn protests like that happen. For the most part, this is what's going on, man. All right. Hey, because people, for the most part, regular people, they be too damn busy with stress and bills and shit to be trying to overthrow their damn government. All right. Even though that's how oppressive they are. The governments be oppressing them, but that's how oppressive they are. Think about it here in America, man. All right. You oppressed over here in America financially. You can't buy nothing, can't afford nothing and everything else like that. But think about it. You ain't got the time a day nor the resources to try to overthrow your government. These Edomites, but then again, that's all set up as well too. Just like how Black Lives Matter, you know what I'm saying? Jake ain't got no time and no resources to be out there protesting like that. That shit was set up by George Soros. But in reality, you don't see Jake be like, man, the hell with that shit, man. Jake get a little bit of that fucking in their system, and they just be like, man, we ain't going over there, man. We straight, bro. Yeah, the police and the people and all. Whoop, whoop. I'm gonna go ahead and Jake like to smoke. Jake go to start drinking. They ain't even worried about what the damn government doing no more, man. That shit be out of their mind. And most people are like that, man. They too damn poor and too stupid and too oppressed to really even overthrow their damn government. So when you see these things happen, know that there's somebody behind all these things, man. All right. It says anti-government unrest was a design of Washington and Tel Aviv. Now they telling you straight out the woodwork. All right, who's doing this, man? Esau with Amalek, man. All right. It says in his first public statement following weeks of violent protests across Iran, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei accused the U.S. and Israel of inciting unrest with the help of traitorous Iranians abroad. All right, so hey, this is all they had to go and do: go over there and pay certain people to show up at certain things for certain events. Hey, we leading the march, we paying for all these folks to go over there and everything else like that, man. Or they'll have people that's like here in America, you got folks from all countries that's living over here that be like so-called pro-American, or hell, they even have people that they have plants in other places, just like how they tell you about how China will send folks over to America. All these Chinese folks is being born over here, and China be financing them to go to school and everything, just for if one day they uprise, they have plants already over there. Don't you think America do the same thing, man? This is how they have a lot of these nations. You would think people would say, well, these people have their own people ruling over top of them. Now, a lot of these nations got Esau ruling over top of them, but they didn't been implanted into these nations. All right, now they, breed with these people. They look like these people, or you would think that these are those people, just like your boy Zelensky. All right, they ain't even got them Ukrainian over there, man. All right, but hey, you see what I'm saying? They got their own puppets. Now, you can even go into that, what was called a maiden coup, when they overthrew Ukraine, man, and put up their own puppet, man. All right, but then, the one that was pro-Russian was in there, but then they overthrew his ass. All right. But anyway, going back into this, it says, I say explicitly that these riots and this insecurity were designed by the U.S. and the occupying fake Zionist regime and those who are paid by them. All right. So you have paid protesters, man, paid actors in these things, man, Khamenei told graduating officers at the police academy on Tehran on Monday. The Ayatollah also blamed traitorous Iranians abroad, arguing that the U.S. and its allies feel that Iran is pressing towards a full-scale power and they can't tolerate this. And this is what they do, man. Just think about it on a small scale. They do the same shit here in America, man. All right. The reason why you can't talk about certain groups of people, the reason why there's certain communities now is their their ideology is flooding the school systems and everything else like that. The reason that you got these Barney the dinosaur looking people, all right, that look, man, I don't even know what the hell to call these folks nowadays, but you see them with the high, bright purple hair and everything else like that, while they can scream on certain things. These people are being paid to go into certain places and shout at stuff and this and that to make it seem like it's their agenda, man. Not getting too far into that community type stuff, but when you really look at how many people actually are actively in that community that partake in that lifestyle, it's less than I believe it's less than 2% or something like that. But we'll give them we'll give them something, right? We'll give them 5%. But 95% of the U.S. population is not with that. But if you look at the TV, the media, the news, and everything else like that, you would think that 95% of America was with that community type bullshit. But it's really the other half. But you have these people that's being paid for these things, and then nowadays with the cancel culture and everything else like that, it's just safer just to shut up and go along with these things, man. All right, so hey, man, this is what it is, and especially for you, Jake, that's in this here truth, you know what it's like being Clark Kent instead of being Superman out here in this here world. You have to go along. Sometimes you be at work and everything else. They be talking about certain things, like yeah, whatever. Because if you just start going out and preaching and everything, these folks are gonna gang up on you. Your ass gonna be fired out here, man. So the same thing in the rest of this here world, man. All right, the majority of these people in the United States don't agree with this here the community type lifestyle, but what they pay for and propagate these folks to be up there to do all these things so they can overtake the narrative. And just think about that in the governmental state. Once they can get these people in place and these so-called leaders and these actors in place, and they can run the whole, like they do, again, like they do on the TV shows, you little famous artists and everything else like that, make them all seem like they're into this here type of community and stuff. Once they get that to brainwash the media, hey, they make it seem like everybody's with this shit. And this is exactly how they steal governments, man. All right. Let me read a little bit more about this because it goes into what happened over there. It says, I explicitly say that these riots and insecurities were designed by the U.S. and the occupying fake Zionist regime and those who are paid by them, Khamenei told graduating officers at a police academy in Tehran on Monday. The Ayatollah also blamed traitorous Iranians abroad, arguing that the U.S. and its allies feel that Iran is pressing towards full-scale power and they can't tolerate this. Protests erupted in cities and towns across Iran more than 2 weeks ago following the death of a 22-year-old Masha Amini in police custody. Amini had been arrested wearing an improper hijab. Amini's family insisted that she was beaten to death. All right, and this is exactly how this here propaganda and this here this stuff goes. All right, because they'll go over there and pay off the family. Hey, look, we'll pay you X amount of dollars to just say this and say that and so on and so forth because, this already happened, but we can take advantage of this. If we can sit there and sway the minds of the popular opinion of people, then, you know what I'm saying? We can, it don't matter what the truth is what we can get people to believe. You can think about a couple different men right now who's been canceled or in jail right the hell now. All right, I can think of plenty of them. We're not even going to mention them to trigger nobody in their mindsets, but we can think of all these people that they made documentaries about these people that now all of a sudden you stop listening to these people's music. You stop listening about what they say and this and that, or what the hell they in jail for or they going to court for. But after that, at first, the mindset, this person is known for this, you'll believe anything, man. Just like the shit that's going on nowadays, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you a fat phobe if you don't, or no, the other one was that this overweight person. All right, talking about something they was what they say, anorexic. And if you don't believe that they anorexic or want to, call them by their little pronoun, and do you believe in their delusion? Once you believe they delusion, then damn it, they can tell you any damn thing. See, this is exactly what the hell is going on with all this serious stuff, man. Oh, it's these folks. These folks want to come out. These folks got a dictator over them. You just believe any and everything. You don't even look at the facts of these things or what they was accused of this, but they wasn't found guilty of these things, man. So this is the way that they do these things, man. All right. So it says, Amini's family insisted that she was beaten to death, while the Iranian authorities claimed that she died of a heart attack. Right? So now these are the two different stories. Either she was beaten to death or she died of a heart attack. The government is saying she died of a heart attack, but her family says she was beaten to death, which will cause an outrage of the people. Oh, the government is wicked and this and that, right? It says a video released by law enforcement purportedly showed Amini collapsing in a lobby of a police station while standing alone. So, hey, they do have a little bit of a video on these things, not going too far into what the hell happened over this, neither here nor there, but just to show the forth of these things. So now we heard the general talking about these things. We hear these folks talking about these things. Let me go into this here other article real quick. All right. Now we heard all these other folks and what they say and what we're going to read in the scriptures, but what about their own tongues? It says John Bolton wants U.S. to change regime in Russia. Same thing, all right. A coup, and now, again, this just happened in Ukraine, all right. The same thing that is going on in Taiwan, all right. They've been trying to kill your boy Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. You see what I'm saying? Like this shit it's the same play, all right. But see, hey, why change up the game plan if it's been working this whole time, man? Most Americans believe that everybody's the damn boogeyman, and they just hate us because of our freedoms and everything else like that. Not the fact that this is the hammer that's destroying the whole earth. Is this the man that shakes up the kingdoms and destroyed the nations and shaking up the kingdoms, man? Raised up all the kings from their thrones. Is this the man that's doing all these things? You think that America's such a sainthood and people just hate you because of your freedoms, but you don't have no idea of what the hell your government and your military is doing across the globe, man. You have bumper stickers and shit like that. Let's support Ukraine, have donations for Ukraine, but you don't have no idea what the hell these people are doing, man. All right, so again, just reading the facts of the matter is like, yo, bro, we not pro these groups. We just like, or anti this group. We just showing you like, nigga, what y'all doing is bad, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't really give a fuck about, they got that new show, Dahmer or whatever it's out. Like, I'm not really for this guy or against this guy, but I'm just saying whatever the dude was doing was foul. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, going into whatever you cutting somebody up and eating them and everything else like that. Like, I'm not for eating people and I'm not against, well, I am against eating people, but if that's what the nigga was doing, I'm just reading the facts. Like, he got arrested for this. This is what his paperwork said he was doing. I'm just pointing out the obvious, right? So it says, a coup in Moscow is the only way for Washington to achieve its goals in Europe, the former national security advisor says. So now, think about this, man. You got the situation with the Nord Stream pipeline. You got the generals talking about these things from years on in, and we see it actually played out. You see what's going on in Iran right now, which they've been trying to get over there the whole time anyway. Now you have it says former White House national security advisor, so somebody that's in the know, somebody that's in the damn circle of people that's making decisions, or was in a circle of people that was making decisions. This ain't no so-called conspiracy theory. This ain't no Alex Jones news channel, some internet. No, Nick, these are the people that's in office to do these things, right? It says former White House national security advisor John Bolton insisted on Wednesday that only regime change in Moscow can achieve long-term U.S. objectives in Europe. Now, you have to go back to the purpose of why NATO was built and created. The purpose of why NATO was created and built was to defend itself against, basically the USSR. And I was going to say Russia, but it was the USSR. But now that the USSR no longer exists, what's the point of having NATO nowadays, man? They ain't never abandoned that mission. The names change. Okay, USSR is no longer there. So now let's start working on, after the collapse of the USSR, you add what they call, the country of Russia. But now Russia's turned into what you call the Russian Federation. All right, so they're getting back into that USSR state, that that big state. Now, what do you think America's still doing, man? All right, they said that they wasn't going to move another inch closer towards the east, towards Russia. Now they up on Russia's borders, man. So they're not stopping with their game plan, man. America's definitely the aggressor here, man. But it's going to lead them to their own demise, as the scriptures say. Their own schemes is going to bring them down, all right? It says, there's no long-term prospect of peace. Hold on, let me go up. It says, former White House National Security Advisor John Bolton insisted on Wednesday that only regime change in Moscow can achieve long-term U.S. objectives in Europe. He proposed funding Russian dissidents who could team up with mid-level officers to overthrow President Vladimir Putin in the coup. And so, again, this is like I was saying, what they do is they pay people in these countries that look like these people. So they like, no, man, it's them. They overthrown their own government. You look back to Muammar Gaddafi. Now, oh, no. His own people overthrew him and his own people killed him. His own people did that to him. It was just like they try to tell us that our own people sold us into captivity, man. You see what I'm saying? Esau don't ever change his ways, man. This nigga's the damn devil, but he walking around as the damn saint, man. Everybody, nah, he didn't do this. He didn't do. They just hate us because everybody did this to everybody. Their own people sold them into captivity. Their own people killed their own leader, man. But who's behind all of this, man? All right. It says he proposed funding Russian dissidents. They proposed to pay their own people to do this, right? Who could team up with mid-level officers to overthrow the president in a coup. Now think about it. You already in a tough spot and everything else. Look at what's going on here in America, man. You can think about Black Lives Matter and what was it, Antifa and all these other little groups and stuff like that. It's you see what I'm saying? Hey, man, like I said, most Americans, think about the situation that you in. You don't like certain things that's going on in America, but you ain't trying to go up and gather up no arms to go fight nobody. You ain't got time. Your schedule too busy at that. You can't even take off for 2 days. At least you get evicted. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna have enough money to pay your rent if you try to go over there and protest and go do some stupid shit like that. All right. It says there's no long-term prospect for peace and security in Europe without regime change in Russia. Bolton argued in an article titled "Putin Must Go," which was published by an online journal in 1945. Change must involve far more than simply replacing Putin, according to Bolton. The whole regime must go. And what do you mean by the whole regime must go? Who do you think is going to be running that if they get their way? It would be ran by America, which goes back into what? The American empire, man. Esau, the earth was given into his hand, man. He's even though they Edomites over there too, but hey, the horde that rideth upon the beast. America is that spot, that beacon of light that's ruling, like the so-called, when you go into the Roman Empire. All right, that's that capital of that whole empire, man. Babylon, America is that the how you say the well, shit. You have if you don't notice, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but New York City is actually the capital of the whole world. All right, you have the United Nations headquarters that's right there. That's what they call it, the Empire State. All right, but nevertheless, going into a little smaller details. But hey, this is the American Empire, man. Not just the United States of America, but the American Empire. All right, the horde that rideth upon the beast, man. NATO and the EU. All right, look at all those military bases around the globe, and it connect the dots. You'll see the picture there. All right, it says let me just read a little bit of this. It says, Bolton actually opened up the article by quoting President Joe Biden, who said in March, "For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power." Biden aides had scrambled to walk that back, with Secretary of State Anthony Blinken arguing that we do not have a strategy of regime change in Russia or anywhere else for that matter. Of course, they're not going to say it while they currently doing it because that would overthrow the whole plan. All right, but what's actually happening? All right. The very next day, however, Biden insisted that he wasn't backpedaling and that his remarks were not articulating a policy change, but expressing moral outrage. And I make no apologies for it. While serving as President Donald Trump's national security advisor, Bolton championed regime change policies for Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran, and derailed Trump's diplomacy with North Korea, after which he was dismissed in September 2019. Yet the U.S. official position on Havana, Caracas, and Tehran has not changed since Biden took office. Neither has it before that, because we just read about when what your boy name was Bush was in office. It's the same damn game plan. That's why I say it don't matter who the hell is in office. You worried about this president or that president, you better off choosing between The Rock and Stone Cold and WWF, man. All right, if you believe either one of them is really against each other's odds, man, Vince McMahon won, all right, because you're watching his show. All right, when you're a little kid, your parents tell you wrestling is fake. It's just the same shit. All right, but nevertheless, I'm gonna jump into some scriptures real quick because just going. You can read this here article, but wait, let me see. Thought that in no, it's not in this here article. Somewhere else that I was reading about how they was going down the line of all these different nations that they just pretty much overthrew. But you can look that up as far as CIA-backed coups around the world. All right, COUP, coups around the world. All right. So nevertheless, let me just read through this real quick. Job 9:24. All right. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right. And that's the point we want to grab. It says he covered the face of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he? Now, let me go back a little bit. I should have read this first, though. Genesis 27. All right. This is speaking on Esau and his blessing. Genesis 27 and verse 39. Yep. Yeah. It says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, this is Esau's blessing. Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven above. And by thy sword shalt thou live. All right. And so now we just read how the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. Now it was his time and his time for the possession of the earth. All right. And it says, and by thy sword shalt thou live. All right. And so now let's go real quick to Revelation chapter 6. Right. Revelation 6 and 4. It says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat there wanted to take peace from the earth. All right, and this was Esau coming into power, right? It says, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. Right, we just read about how his blessing was he was going to live by the sword. All right, he was given that great military might, that great military power. You can go all the way back from Alexander the Greek, man, the Romans, man. All right, they stomped the whole earth into powder, man. Esau's on. You got Edomite on Edomite combat, man. Nowadays, World War I, World War II, those basically all Edomites fighting one another, man. All right, they're still in power even into the same day, man. You had the what do you call I guess you could say the Europeans, the Brits. All right, they pretty much took over, colonialism and everything else like that. But then you had different of these Edomite time frames where they was ruling. You know, the French and all them, Spain and all them that was ruling all the way up until now. Whereas Babylon the Great's time. All right, so now you have this here, what they going on, regime change and everything else like that. You know, neo-colonialism, for lack of better terms, man. But hey, he would be ruling the earth and subduing all these nations and gaining possession of the earth by way of what? The sword, man. His military. Now, granted, up with World War II, basically. All right, Esau pretty much submitted everybody into stillness, man. All right, he pretty much made everybody capitulate by way of what? That damn whatchamacallit, those atomic bombs he dropped on Japan, man. After that, man, ain't nobody really want no beef with him. They was all pretty much silent. Then he pretty much ruled over NATO, all right, and got basically an empire at that point in time. Like, who the hell was going to come up against him at that point? And you see what he's been doing now. In these latter days, let's go ahead and grab that real quick. In these latter days, Isaiah 14 and 9, I believe. In these latter days, all right, Isaiah 14 and 9, it says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. So, hey, man, this is what they do in the latter days, man. I mean, not only do they, you had them with the brute force of just, from Alexander's time all the way up until, like I said, World War II's time, where Esau was basically just bombarding people with warfare. All right, but in these latter times, what have they been doing, man? All right, they've been just overthrowing governments. Really, since World War II ended, all right, America ain't really been, they had conflicts. Don't get it twisted. They didn't have conflicts and stuff like that, in the open, hot wars and everything else like that. But reality, when they talk about the Cold War, all right, which was, you could say America versus the USSR at that point in time, or NATO. It was America versus them, right? But what you had going on was what they call the Cold War. All right, covert warfare. All right, intelligence wars. Basically, coups and overthrowing governments. What they had happened was, what was it, 1991, 92? USSR pretty much collapsed. All right, but in that same point in time, what you had happen was, basically like an overthrow of the government, a coup d'etat at the same time, because not only did they just overthrow them as the USSR, or the USSR collapsed, they, what was it, Gorbachev and them, pretty much said, hey, this is the end of it all, right? Then they had their own, quote unquote, their own leaders and things. But what happened to the economy there, man? They pretty much cleaned that bad boy spot clean, man. They took everything from that spot, man. All right. So, hey, America was just like, look, man, we'll let y'all so-called keep ruling. But, hey, man, we finna plunder y'all from everything that y'all got. So what happened to Russia at that point in time? Russia became a big-ass third world country. All right. And, when Vladimir Putin came back or got into office, that's when those hooks started being put into the jaws, as Ezekiel 38 go into, and then their economy started coming back. Global economic trade started coming back. Exports of gas and natural gas and energy started happening. All right, developing and building a military started happening and everything else like that. Fulfilling prophecy in Ezekiel 38, those hooks being put back into the jaws. And now you're starting to see more of these ex-Soviet states, either America trying to take them away from Russia, or they going banding back with Russia again, man. But all these things have been predicated by way of what? America going over here and overthrowing these governments in what you call coup d'etats, or regime change, same thing. All right, but this is not no secret. But this goes to show you that, hey, the scriptures are alive and speaking, man. All right, this is not made up. This ain't our feelings or our agendas. Hey, man, now it is speak the how the scriptures say the visions yet for an appointed time. but at the end it will speak and not lie. That's the point I want to grab. At the end it shall speak and not lie, because all these things are speaking loud and clear. We ain't, oh, y'all just saying this, y'all just saying that. Well, what is the news and the media saying? What are these Edomites saying? What is the American military even saying nowadays, man? All these things are now speaking loud and clear to where, hey, man, we just connecting the dots between the scriptures and what they even telling you nowadays, man. It's not like it's hard. You don't have to go and spend hours on dark websites and everything trying to find out this and find out that. The old, manuscripts that's hidden in the library. Man, it's on your mainstream media news, man. These are the high talking points nowadays, man. All right, when you watch about on the mainstream media news about the Nord Stream pipelines getting blown up, it's all in the open. Yeah, America might have had something to do with that. They was talking about they was gonna blow that shit up. Biden was talking about that shit on the news and everything else. Like, it ain't no conspiracy. It ain't something somebody found with some leaked documents on some Alex Jones. No, it's on the mainstream media news, man. It's all starting to speak now, man. All right, while I'm right here, Isaiah 14:16, it says, they that see thee shall nearly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake the kingdoms, that made the world a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, and that opened not the house of his prisoners? All right, so hey, this is let me read this in NLT. It says, everyone there will stare at you and ask, can this be the one who shook the earth, that made the kingdoms of the world tremble? Is this the one who destroyed the world and made it into a wasteland? All right, so hey, this is is this the king who demolished the world's greatest cities and had no mercies on his prisoners? So who's overthrowing all the damn governments and all the nations, man? Who is ruling over top of all these people? And again, granted, you would think that these people are ruling over top of their own people in their own nations. Nah, man, these people is Edomites mixed in with these folks, man. Or if not, they puppets or proxies of Esau that's ruling these nations. Like, for instance, the Ukrainians, man. Who the hell are these Ukrainians, man? All right, you know your boy DJ Vlad TV, right? Ask him what his where he from. All right, he would tell you he's Russian. All right, he was born in the Ukraine. All right, that was back then when that was part of Russia. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit. They the same people. There ain't no difference. All right, but then yet and still nowadays you got a regime change and overthrow. Now you got two different countries, and now the dude that's over there is not even a Ukrainian, man. I believe he's a Polish Jewish person that's over there, man. All right, but nevertheless, hey, this is what you have going on, man. People will say, no, Zelensky. His name is Vladimir Zelensky. He's Ukrainian. He's the Ukrainian president. Bro, these people have been set up over there, man. And America even tell you that this is what didn't happen. Like I said, you can look up CIA government overthrows, coups led by America and everything else like that. Just look up the Maidan coup. They tell you what the hell happened. It's not a conspiracy. It's all out in the open, man. All right, all these things are all out in the open, and a lot of times the U.S. government got to go to they get caught up in court. And they have to go to court and trial over these things, man. But nevertheless, hey, man, these are all the things that you see happen, but people just don't, they don't have the eyes to see these things. But hey, this is why we make it like the scriptures say, I will stand upon my watch. Matter of fact, we're going to go there anyway because I want to read verse 5 on down. But Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1. Matter of fact, I'll read from verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. It says, and Yahweh answered and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. And so this is our job, man. Hey, we've been out here, like, look, played the video for you with the general saying this, General Clark saying these things about, their plan. You've seen the plan play out in reality because we lived through all of this. We've seen this all happen. We still see it currently happening. I gave you the names of certain of these coups, like the Maidan coup in Ukraine when they overthrew the government in Ukraine and where all these things stem from. Now they actively talking about overthrowing the government in Russia. We see the conflict in Russia. What do you think that their plan is and what they're trying to do? All right. But let's go down to verse 5. It says, yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man and neither keepeth at home. Just like in that Iranian article, how they say with they got the family to say one thing versus what they actually got on camera. All right, they got this wand that they transgress by, whether it be doctrines, philosophies, paying people off to say certain things, and then when you see it in the media, well, they said this, they said that. Like in a certain artist, a certain R&B artist scenario, they came out with this documentary, a smear campaign about him first, and then all of a sudden they bring him up for court, man. Like, yeah, we knew he was in the shady business beforehand, but then all of a sudden y'all come out with this here propaganda piece on him. Now all of a sudden it's such a big ass problem. Why wasn't it a problem beforehand until y'all came out with this here smear campaign. You know, when you go into the, like we're gonna read here, they want the resources, man. When we get to the bottom, it says let me read this. Actually, I want to read this in the NLT. It says, wealth is treacherous and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouths as wide as the grave, and like death they are never satisfied. In their greed have they gathered up many nations and swallowed many people. Now let's go back to the top. It says, wealth is treacherous and the arrogant are never at rest. So this greed, all right, this is the point. They want the resources. They're not gathering people unto them to sing kumbaya. They're not trying to get at all these people, like, you know, in the music industry. They don't want the masters and the rights for all just because. No, they want the money and all the resources that come out of these things, man. You see these pipelines is going up. Why would you think that they want to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline? Because Russia getting money off of that shit. Supplying, that's the bloodline to Europe right now, man. But hey, America's like, fuck that. If we can get our hand up in the cookie jar, we'll have our hands in everything, man. All right, so they like real life Pinky in the brain trying to figure out how to take over the world day after day. Even though they got the whole world, they want every crumb, nook, and cranny of it, man. All right, but this is Esau, man. Verse 6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Eventually, these nations is going to, well, let me go read that in the NLT as well, too. It says, but soon their captives, oh, man. Okay, we're still going. It says, but soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, what sorrow await you thieves? Now you will get what you deserve. You have become rich by extortion. How much longer can this go on? So how did America get rich, man? All right, they started off by extorting Jake, you know, in captivity. All right, then they put the rest of the world into captivity, man. All right, so it says, suddenly shall, let me read that in NLT as well, too. It says, suddenly your debtors will take action, and they will turn on you and take all that you have while you stand trembling helpless. All right. So, hey, all your debtors, all right, it says, shall they not suddenly rise up that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booty unto them? It says, because you have plundered many nations, all right, this spoiling of the nations, because you have plundered many nations, now all the survivors will plunder you. You commit murder throughout the countryside and fill the towns with violence. So what are these nations all crying out against? Hey, is this the man that did this to us? Is this the man that overthrew our governments? Is this the man? Look at the whole Middle East. The whole Middle East has been destabilized by way of what? America going over there and overthrowing these folks, man. You know, what you have to understand, ISIS acronym was the Islamic, what was it? The Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. All right. Now, when you had Iraq, you had Saddam Hussein that was over there before. You didn't have no terrorists until they went over there and killed that nigga and took his country, man. Then all of a sudden you got Halliburton and KBR and Halliburton and Dick Cheney and them blowing up everything and then making money off of all that stuff with the private contracts. Then they stole all the resources over there. Then you had the same thing. They trying to do the same thing with Syria because of the pipelines that go through there. Your boy Muammar Gaddafi, not only was he going to change to the golden dinar, have a currency for Africa out of pure natural gold, he also found what you call primary water down in the ground, man. Unlimited supply of water inside the damn a barren desert land is more than fucking diamonds out there, man. All right, because you can bring, just think about Las Vegas, man, or the land of Israel. If you can bring fresh water in from down there, you don't have to export from afar. Hey, you got an unlimited supply of everything out there now. So all these different nations have been overthrown, and look at their countries nowadays, man. All because Esau and took his little red raggedy ass over there. That's why the scripture say, and death and hell followed him, man. All right, but hey, I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. I didn't want to make this here lesson too long. Maybe I'll go into it a little further at another time. But hey, this was just the spirit, that the fact that all these things are starting to come together right now, and now let's just close out with that. All right, because it says it better than what I can. 2 Thessalonians 2:3, it says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. All right, that man of sin is being revealed, man. All right, hey, he getting pointed out by all the nations at this point in time. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and ever will. And salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.